You're listening to the best of ITW, brought to you by Pop Guide and WikiLeaf.
The new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
On this episode, ITW welcomes Part 1 with actor, comedian, advocate, musician, and icon, Tommy Chong.
Scene 3, take 1.
Stolen from Bubba. I'm just saying. Like you said that I could do that this
you
time.
did say
Well, you know what,
And then
man?
you just grabbed it like you didn't even give me the opportunity.
Oh,
and then,
you know,
and then you fucked it up.
I kind of forgot I said that. I may not have said that, though. Could we rewind the footage, please? Could we get it up on the screen?
Yeah.
All right, well, it's not working right now, so we're going to have to debate this later. But
So next up, we're gonna recap the Tommy Chong experience that we had.
This is the biggest, honestly, this is the biggest bummer for me. And like, not only the interview, because the interview is amazing.
Thank you.
I listened to it. You guys absolutely slayed it.
Thank you so much.
But the story of how this interview happened is just like, it's so legendary. It's like one of those legendary people when he just showed up there.
Oh yeah,
fucking incredible.
Just
boop over the wall, and it was like Chong, like the character of Chong.
So how we kind of got involved with these dudes is when I was working with Clint Young over at MMJ Cannabis, we did a Tommy Chong event at McMaster University, and we met him kind of briefly. We sponsored it, I should say we did it, and we kind of snuck our way in there, and there's a black market thing, and the university would not be stoked about that. But we got away with it, and he was super, super nice, and that's where we met Paris. And so Paris being Tommy Chong's son, and he kind of manages a bunch of it. I don't know how much, but a lot of the day-to-day. And so I messaged Paris trying to get him on the show because I thought it would be really interesting to have Tommy Chong's kid. Right? Like that would be I'd still like to do that interview. And he's like a surfer, super chill, and he fucks off all the time, but I guess he doesn't really like the attention. And so then it was kind of vague. And I'm like, we would be crazy if we didn't ask for your dad too. Yeah. And so it kind of got vague there. And then we were like, I don't know if this is going to happen. And we had told the High Times guys that it was. We told Capetta, and we're like, we haven't heard from anybody. Right? And we're like, and you're like, do you think Tommy Chong's coming? We're sitting around the house smoking weed. It's just me and F.
I remember.
You know, and we're like, we don't know. And then like, we talked to our friend John Capetta, who was later on the show too, in this session. But, and I'm like, we don't know what's happening. He's like, that's kind of the way it goes. You just don't know if it's going to show up. And then we're like, I think we were kind of like, I think you were kind of getting a little sad and thinking it wasn't going to happen.
I definitely didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like Bubs just said, this little white head popped like over the fence. It's like, is this the place?
It was amazing. It was Chong, like the fucking out of a Chong movie.
Yeah,
Cheech and Chong movie.
Yeah, came in all casual, just by himself, no entourage.
He pulled in and parked like diagonal in the driveway so no one else could get in his fucking Tesla. What's up? It was like, what?
So crazy.
I know.
And they came in and they smoked bongs with us for a bit, just a little bit.
It was cool.
And he's like, hey, did somebody got a little nip of a bong or something? Remember he said something like that?
Yeah.
And then we smoked weed with him. And then, you know, it's kind of a blur because it's so fucking crazy because he's so iconic. Like he's an actual fucking icon. Not just a weed icon, but like comedy icon,
human
music icon. Just an icon.
It's pretty rad.
It's pretty remarkable.
Canadian legend too, no?
Yeah, originally Canadian, and we found out on that. I think Alberta, Edmonton was where he was born, and then moved to Vancouver. I always thought he was in Vancouver,
and I like that he dove deep into his music career.
Yeah, me too.
Pre-comedy.
Sorry, guys.
It's fucking rad because that's a pretty impressive part of his life. And I was psyched too when we were talking about how he had sold 30 million copies of Cheech and Chong records and stuff, and that we touched on the Christmas record, and Cheech has a song he sings on there, and I started singing it, and he joined me, and in my head I was like, oh my God. And like you kept singing it along with me, so I sang it out.
It was really cool to see. I mean, there were so many cool things about that conversation because when he found out we were musicians musicians, there was. That's why it ended up, I think, becoming like a two-parter because he just started. It was just talking about touring and jamming and so many relatable things. finding out that he, who was it? Diana Ross. He went on tour with Diana Ross. Like he had a whole career in Motown before and all of that kind of stuff. He gets into, but it was really nice seeing you. Not only fanboy, because you kind of fanboy out a lot, but you turned into a little kid.
I felt like a little kid talking.
And then when you started talking about, having like a Mexican American hero, and all that kind of stuff, it was what a sincere moment and kind of a cool thing to get to witness. It's wild,
it's wild, dude. Yeah, it was cool, man. Like I can't memorize the lyrics to Cheech and Chong songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just totally surreal to me. It was cool, man.
Yeah.
And it was like you said, he was like weed Jesus. Like, dude,
Weed Christ.
Weed Christ, yeah.
Because he is so calming. Like he's so
he had an energy about him.
Yeah. Like
something about him just made you feel cool. Yeah. Everything's chill. Fucking and just
no judgment or something. Like it's just,
exactly.
Like, it's wild.
And you felt so comfortable and loose and just receptive to hearing his wisdom, and you quoted him earlier today where one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard in my life from him was, the great thing about weed is that.
No, it was a kid, that quote comes from that show before. It was a kid asked him what the best thing about weed was. And he looked at the kid, he said, you don't have to do it.
Yeah. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, it means no one's forcing you to smoke weed. That's the best thing. And it's just kind of
Chong,
dude. Whoa, you know what I mean? That's
How
I'll never forget spending that time with him.
Yeah,
it's all like being in jail.
Okay,
yeah, like when you're doing a movie, you're basically incarcerated,
right?
Because they tell you what to wear, what to say, where to go, what to do, what to eat, where to sleep.
Yeah.
And then when to work the next day. And then if you get time off, they'll limit you. Okay, you got maybe you got the weekend off, but we might need you, so stay close.
Right.
And next thing you know, a year has gone by in your life.
Wow.
And so that's movies. And then touring is the same thing.
Oh, touring, yeah.
Touring, yeah. Okay, we're meeting. We got to be at the airport. Now we're at the hotel. You guys get these rooms, and we got sound check at a certain time.
Yep.
And And we're eating here. They want to do this. What do you guys want to do? And if you get any time off, it's like, oh, we'll go sightseeing. Nah, we'll stay in the room.
Yeah, man. I try to see as much as I can. I am that guy in my group that I am up early and I'm doing everything I can.
Oh, yeah.
I got 5 hours to see the city. Run to the train station. Look at the map. Zentrum. That's the city center. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I get back in time for sound check.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah, you're taking advantage of it.
I'm trying.
That's good.
I'm really trying. But it's so easy to just stay in.
Yeah, remember the Three Dog Night?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They were, one of them was a big junkie. And so everywhere they'd go, they'd stay in the room and black out the windows.
What? Really?
They'd be in Hawaii, black out the windows.
Oh, man.
Not move.
What? You're just like, dude, in Hawaii.
To each his own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's hilarious.
Open up the window, sucker. Let me catch my breath.
I know.
That's Three Dog Night. Mama's told me not to come. I think Three Dog Night had more #1 singles
than the Beatles.
Than the Beatles.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
That's crazy.
Then they broke up, and it was not a good breakup, and they splintered. Now there's Danny Hutton is the only. Oh, one of the only. There's two singers, Danny Hutton and
Chuck Negro.
Chuck Negro, and Chuck and Danny hate each other, of course. Mm-hmm. Floyd Sneed, the drummer, was my brother-in-law.
Really?
Yeah, I was married to his sister, my first marriage.
What a trip.
Yeah, Maxine. And so I've known Floyd. In fact, Floyd, my band was the first band he ever played in, drumming. And then he became this monster drummer and went down to L.A. and hit it big. And he's not doing too good now health-wise. He's got a little bit of problems,
Yeah.
But he's...
So you know all those guys? You know all those guys?
Yeah, a bunch of them died. Corey Wells, Jimmy, and the guitar player, I think. Yeah, they all passed.
How many bands were you in? Because you started playing in Vancouver,
Me?
obviously, right?
I was only in one band. He just kept changing the name all the time. We started out as the Shades.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Because we were all different colors.
That's cool.
And so we were the Calgary Shades. And we were the first R&B band in Canada, basically.
Wow.
That was before, right after Elvis.
So you're from Calgary? I always thought you were from
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Calgary originally, or Edmonton. I was born in Edmonton.
Oh, wow.
Then raised in Calgary, basically. Yeah. Calgary. And then we got deported to Vancouver.
What? How did that happen?
We got kicked out of Calgary.
What? For what?
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been socially conscious.
Yeah.
Being when I was really small, I was in an orphanage for a while because my dad came home from the war. He had some wounds. My mother had TB. She was in the TB ward. And so all the kids, my brother and my sister and I, we ended up in an orphanage, the Salvation Army home. And so that's when that's my first memory. Because I was about 5 years old, I guess, when I ended up in there. I was in the hospital too, and then when I got out of the hospital, I went right into the orphanage. And so I've always been surrounded by people, with no parents and, people of color, Native people. And that's what I grew up. And so that was my social consciousness. And so when I started a band, first of all, I started hanging with a rough crowd. And so I got in trouble. In Canada, they call it joyriding.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm also Canadian. I've been getting picked on by these guys all day, especially this one. So it's nice to have a fellow Canadian, but I've been joyriding.
Great.
Yeah.
They call car theft joyride. Because that's what it was. We'd
Right.
steal a car just to drive the piss out of it.
Yeah, you weren't
Leave it alone.
maliciously
Leave it on.
stealing a
Then walk
car.
away,
Yeah.
And so I was involved with that. So I got in trouble. And so then I went, we got arrested one day. It was funny. The car we stole, I never stole it. That's a story of my life. I've been incarcerated a couple of times for something I never did. But I just happened to be there. My buddy stole the car, and then the battery died on it. And so we were under the car trying to get it going again, and the cops pulled up.
Oh, no.
And so we ran, but the snow had just fallen, so the cops just followed our tracks till he knocked on the door, and both of us, we jumped into bed with our clothes on. And the cops just marched right in, opened the door, marched right in and got us, took us down to the station, locked us up. And so, and then it was like $100 fine or something like that. My dad come and we paid the fine, got out. And so when we started the band, by that time I had talked to the magistrate, the judge, because I was curious, because I was thinking, there's nothing for kids to do in Calgary. There was no activities, no club. There was a boys' club, but it was for younger kids, but nothing for teenagers. And so when we started our band, I started a teen club at the same time.
Huh.
And so the teen club, we rented the Legion Hall, because when you have an organization like that, you can rent venues. And so we rented the Legion Hall. And then we started playing rock and roll downtown Calgary at the Legion Hall. And so you can imagine Saturday night was packed.
That's amazing.
Packed. You couldn't breathe. There were so many people. But we had to stop at midnight because of the liquor laws. And so you got about 1,000 teenagers converged, and now, boom, it stops at midnight. What are we going to do? And so, it was a mess for a while there. There'd be some girl babysitting somewhere. Hey, there's a party over here. And so 300 people go to where the girl was babysitting and then ravage the house and, just like crazy teenagers. And so the mayor and the chief of police called us into the mayor's office. And sat us down and said, we thought we were going to get, some kind of commendation for helping teenagers with something to do, give them something to do with their Saturday nights. And the mayor, Don McKay at the time, he was the guy that started the white hat thing in Calgary, and the chief of police, and they were all there. And they said,
wow.
They said, you have to leave town.
What?
Get out of Dodge.
There was a time, like a lot of Canada was a lot like the Wild Wild West,
Yeah.
like a lot like when Ronnie Hawkins and those kind of guys were touring around, like. It was pretty like, because it was city to city and there was nothing in between. So there was like in those times, like, when the band and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because the band, obviously, they backed Ronnie Hawkins before Bob Dylan stole them. And so they were like playing the Horseshoe all the time and stuff like that. But really similar stories.
So, Hawkins and I, they were the East Coast band. We were the West Coast band. Oh, wow. And we knew about each other, just from people talking. But our band was mostly black. And very heavy into blues, rhythm and blues. And so wherever we went, we were groundbreakers, and we packed the joint. So when we got told to get out of town, we said, the drummer at the time was from Vancouver. He said, well, I can get us a gig in Vancouver. So yeah, let's go to Vancouver. So we went to Vancouver, and for the most part, everybody stayed there. But But then, the band broke up, and then the same singer calls the same guys, only named the band different. Little Daddy and the Bachelors.
Rebranded.
Wow.
Yeah. Little Daddy and the Bachelors. And none of us were bachelors.
That's hilarious.
That is, oh man, we had the best time. And we were actually the first kind of punk rock, because everybody in the band were we weren't just little skinny musicians,
Yeah.
Everyone had played hockey. Everyone had like we were thugs, street fighters.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, how word gets out when there's some tough guy.
Yep.
Well, they got to come down and check it out. Yeah. Well, the tough guys from Southwest Calgary heard about our band. And my brother was noted for being a very brawler, tough guy. And that's what tough guys do. Oh, you think you're tough? Huh? Okay, let's go. Let's go do it. And my brother and the toughest guy in Southwest Calgary, in between intermission, they're out there duking it out. They're duking it out. And it's serious duking, too. They're like, Chuck Moran was his name. It was the Moran brothers. And he had just gotten out of jail. And when you're in jail in Canada, all you do is lift weights.
Right.
That's all you did. You just lift weights and get more buffed. And so he was buffed, and he was kind of beating the shit out of my brother. And so intermission was up. So I said, okay, time, hold it, break. And so I separated them, and we went back and played the rest of the gig.
What?
Yeah.
Did they go back after?
No.
Nice.
They both had respect.
Oh, yeah.
See, it was one of those kind of fights where they had to fight, but when any excuse to break it up because it was going nowhere, they were like equal.
Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, no, and so our band, everybody in the band was and like the singer, Little Daddy was he could have been a pro football player until he fucked up his knee, but he was one of the fastest humans on earth ever. He could outrun a horse for 40 yards.
Wow.
40 yards, that's how fast he was. And he was a prospect for the NHL and all that.
Yeah.
But he messed up his knee, and he got into being a black singer. Oh, when I first met him, he was a black football player. So he had, the natural hair and everything else. But when he became a singer, he all of a sudden became like Wilson Pickett, with the conked hair and the moody guy.
That's amazing.
And Wes Henderson was a young kid, another black kid. He wasn't as tough as the rest of them. But my brother, I got my brother to play bass because we needed a car in the band. We never had a car. My brother had a car, and we needed a bass player. And so I said, hey, you can be the bass player. So he took a couple of lessons and started playing bass. It wasn't bad. I had to show him where to put his fingers.
That's amazing. He learned.
And then we had a reunion like 50 years later, and we got on stage. I had to show him where to put his fingers.
Same time, same again.
That's great.
But what a great band when I think about it. Now the sax player at the time, he was half black, and he was like 6 foot, maybe 2 or 3. Big an artist, incredible artist, but another football player. In fact, my brother was on the football team. Pete Watts was on the football team, and Tommy. They were all on the same football team. My brother was like a linebacker, so we all got all together, and so we would play these venues. Like we're kind of prejudiced, because if you get outside of Calgary, you're in Nazi land.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
For real,
yeah.
when my Video Dead, one of my bands, we played
Olds, Alberta.
Lethbridge, I think.
Lethbridge, yeah.
And we was sitting there with Barney. We went to dinner with like these people from town and with the promoters and stuff like that. We heard that the KKK is still around there. We're kind of like laughing. We're like, is that a thing? Because it's kind of unheard of where we're from.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but if you knew our native problem, you'd understand. We're like, oh shit, I'm having dinner with this shit. Yeah, it's fucking sketchy. And we just quietly ate and they got the fuck out of there. But
It's still hot out there.
Our car broke down one time. We're coming home, and we never stop at these little towns between Calgary and Edmonton, Olds, Alberta, because they weren't on the highway. They had the highway was out here, and you had to drive another couple of miles to the town, but you could see the town. And so we went to the town, and Tommy was very dark. There was a group of ex-slaves that settled north of Edmonton, and the reason they wouldn't settle in Edmonton was that Edmonton wouldn't let them settle there.
Oh, wow.
They said, yeah, ex-slaves, you can come, but you had to go out of town. And so they were at a little place called Amber Valley.
Okay.
And they stayed there, and then Tommy, and there's so many other, Bernie Sneed, drummer for Three Dog Night, his family's from that Amber Valley area.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, there's a enclave there in Halifax too, and New Brunswick.
Was Three Dog Night Canadian? They weren't Canadian. Were
Yeah.
They were?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Canadian, yeah. And so when we would play it, like, oh no, we're just walking. We're just middle of the day. And Tommy, like I say, it was very dark, and we're walking down the street. This lady come around the corner with bags of groceries, and she literally screamed. She looked at Tommy and screamed, and threw their bags in the air, and then just went running. And Tommy and I looked at each other. We thought, fuck, we got to get off the street here.
Yeah, man.
So we go into a pool room, and it's really dark, and then as your eyes get accustomed to the light, all these guys, all these like KKK guys looking at us,
Holy fuck.
But it's just ignorance,
Yeah.
They had no idea. They read
know.
that. They read stuff.
Yeah.
And if they ever met anybody that ever met Tommy or any of the band, and see how beautiful and how solid people they are, then they lose that.
Some people never grow up around anyone different than them.
That's what I'm saying.
I remember this had to be like 1994 or something like that. I remember going to Louisiana for the first time, and I was in Lake Charles, and this dude's like, hey, you guys can come crash at my house, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man, sick, Bring the band all back there, and this guy's little brother comes out of a room, and he looks at me, and I swear, he's like, this is 96. Are you a Mexican? And I said, yeah. And I'd never seen a Mexican before. You know what I mean? Not that long ago. So people don't grow up ever seeing someone different than themselves, And that was astonishing. And his nice brother said, oh, it's Latino American. And I was, no, man, it's cool. It's Mexican.
Yeah.
But it was just,
Yeah.
It's cool. I've never been someone's first.
Well, when I met when I first met Cheech, that's exactly what I said. Are you a Mexican?
Yeah, dude, yeah. And
because he was faking it. We didn't know what he was. He was really straight, had short hair. He was into meditation, and he was getting out of the draft. And so he was changing his whole thing. Oh, Cheech, We didn't know he was Mexican. Didn't know he was Mexican till we went down to L.A.
What?
I swear to God.
Where did you meet? Where did you guys meet?
In Calgary.
In Calgary?
No, we met in Vancouver, but Cheech got, to get out of the draft, he ended up sneaking into Calgary.
Wow.
He got landed immigrant status.
Okay.
Across the border there, out of Montana into Alberta, and then up to Calgary. And he lived at Brad Creek, Alberta, which is a little colony outside of Calgary, miles from where I grew up, literally. And he heard about me when he was there from the bands and everybody else. This Tommy Chong from Calgary.
He was in the band scene too.
Well, Cheech was a singer. He would go to the folk clubs in L.A. here. But when he was up there, he was singing in a little in Brad Creek, a little bar, a little steakhouse. And oh man, he was when we met him, everybody, what is he? I don't know. Who cares? He's funny. He's funny. When we came down to L.A., now we're in L.A., and we got a gig. It was called the Irma Hotel on Van Nuys Boulevard in Reseda.
And sorry to interrupt, you were coming down here just kind of gigging like you were in the other
We're
place?
just trying to, we had teamed up.
Oh, okay.
See, up in Canada, we were a big improv group. We had topless dancers. They're actresses. And we had a lot of 4 girls and about 3 or 4 guys. It depends. 3 guys like me, David, and Cheech. And so when my brother fired us because we weren't making any money, because everybody quit. When we turned it into a theater, everybody started acting like it was a theater and counting their change and not spending money like the topless bar drunks do.
Right.
And so my brother said, this experiment is over. And so Cheech, everybody went back to doing what they were doing, and Cheech and I, we were the ones that had nothing else to do. And so we teamed up, and we did a couple of gigs in Vancouver.
Comedy or
comedy?
Yeah.
Strictly comedy. Well, we put a band together.
Yeah, okay.
That was the first thing we did, because I was always thinking, I'm a musician. I'll always have a band. And so the first thing we did, our first impulse, because he was a singer, I'm a guitar player, so we put a band together. But we went out and did comedy, and we couldn't get out of the comedy.
Yeah.
There was no reason to.
Right.
And so we did comedy. And the band, the bass player says, Tom Labin, he was from the blues something. Anyway, he says, so when's our next gig, boss? Never played a note. But we had quite a history.
That's amazing. I got to ask, because it's kind of the nature of the show, but what was your first time trying weed?
Weed?
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly. I was 17 years old.
Okay.
We were in a little jazz club. The bass player, a jazz bass player named Raymond Ma, Chinese. He came back from L.A. and he had a Lenny Bruce record and a joint. And he says, "This is for you." And I put the joint in my pocket, and so he lit up his own joint. And I got high for the first time.
Wow.
And what an experience.
Did you listen to that Lenny Bruce record?
Later. But that night I listened to Ornette Coleman.
Ornette Coleman?
Yeah, he's a sax player, and he played a song called Lonely Woman. And I literally could see this woman on a balcony just smoking and looking out. She's very lonely. It just came.
Wow.
And after that experience, then I went home and I had the whole joint, and I just smoked a couple of tokes every day for a month. Just toking up.
Wow.
Took a little toke, put it out, listen to Lenny Bruce. And that's what really got Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Eventually ended up being Cheech and Chong, because that's an album I just listened to every day until it was like burned into my skull. It was so funny. I played it for my son, and he didn't laugh once. You had to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the Cheech and Chong records. People playing them for their kids. And go,
Yeah, but I like, and I was just thinking, I was about to say comedy is subjective to the times because comedy does date itself, but your guys' stuff has standed the test of time.
Pretty current.
Yeah,
it's pretty on
remarkable.
point.
Like,
Well,
and a lot of the same issues are still going on.
You guys kind of called it.
yeah, we did.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Even the immigration.
Oh, absolutely.
Big time. Yeah.
I remember they were stopping long hairs from going into Mexico.
Yeah.
And
Really?
so we did a Mexican border guard. Alto.
Yeah.
Welcome to Mexico. Where are you going?
So good.
We used to laugh at that. So, welcome to Mexico. Where are you going?
So good.
Mexico. And then I acted like I was Jesus then. I'm going to see my children. And you have many children? Yes, I do. What are you, a rock star?
Yes. That's amazing.
Oh, we had so much fun with those records.
That's so great.
Yeah, Cheech and I, we just work. It was so simple because we just appear anywhere, and people laugh. And the next thing you know, we were doing the Troubadour.
Wow.
And they had Hootenanny night, folk singer. Like anybody, anybody could sign up and sing a song or
Open mic.
tell a joke, open mic, yeah.
Yeah.
But you had to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning to get in line so that you'd be first to go on 6th at showtime. And so we would get there at 9 o'clock and sit there all day in front of the Troubadour eating sunflower seeds. And then 6 o'clock would come and we'd sign up and we'd be the 6th act on the thing. And then we got so popular that they were phoning me and say, "Are you coming? Are you guys going to come down tonight?" And that's how popular we got. And then the industry took notice, and then Lou Adler was in the audience one night, and we heard about it, and then we signed a deal with them the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rags to riches.
Wow. Yeah,
Really?
we got. Sorry, go ahead. No, please.
It's over. It seems like it's almost like, how did you take that? It seemed like overwhelming,
Not really, because see, I had gone through the Motown experience.
Right. That's
my
right.
band had been discovered by Motown, so I went through that whole, that being discovered.
So you were kind of prepared for it.
Yeah, I was.
That's cool.
I was, and then being around comedians because all the clubs we played up in Canada, they always used to. A lot of clubs that we played were all black clubs, and they would always have MC and dancers and comedians, comics.
More of a variety type setting.
Yeah, total variety. Yeah. There's one comedian from Seattle, a black guy named Sir Pineapple, and that's what they'd come on. They wouldn't do too much time, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just hit them with some really good, funny comedy, or they would MC it. But at the time, you could get acts for next to nothing.
Yeah.
And so, everybody worked. You could work. And so when Cheech and I went to L.A., I knew Red Fox from the Motown days, and so we got it right into the clubs right away, and it was so much fun. We had the best time. Because when you hit a club with a good solid act, and you're up against these, these kids that are trying to be comedians or acts that are so bad that they can only do open mic nights.
Right.
Yeah, they're the only ones that would let them have it, and everybody's, their acceptance thing is quite low. You got to put up with a lot of weird shit, And then when Cheech and Chong would come on, we would hit them with some really solid material, and so we were always the star where we went.
That's cool.
That's so cool.
That was.
That's a lot of fun.
I feel like you're kind of one of the first
groups to, or maybe popularize kind of there's a lot of comedians now that have mixed music with comedy and
it's
writing songs. And you came from a songwriting background, obviously first, but I feel like you kind of maybe set the pace for that.
Could be. There's like the Smothers Brothers, but the Smothers Brothers they played the straight drinking crowd, and they were cute. They're always cute. They couldn't get down and dirty.
Yeah, they were
Lenny
more
Bruce
friendly.
Lenny Bruce could get down and dirty.
Lenny Bruce is great.
Yeah.
See, it was Lenny. See, Lenny was like the outlaw.
Yeah.
One time, Lenny, what's her name? The black singer. Pearl Bailey. Pearl Bailey is one of those, entertain everybody and everybody having a good time. And there's Lenny Bruce in the house. Lenny, come on up here, Lenny. Well, when you're an outlaw comedian, you can't change over just because someone says, "Hey, Lenny, come on." And Lenny said, "That's not a good idea." He goes, "No. Oh, Lenny, don't be like that. Come on up here." So Lenny gets a fire extinguisher and he gets out and he sprays Pearl Bailey with that foam.
Holy shit!
Fucked up her hair, her wardrobe, the show. But
People must have been losing their minds, though.
Well, the hardcores are on the floor laughing, they're dying.
Yeah.
And all the straight ones are
Just in shock.
See, that's Cheech and Chong. See, we had to keep doing that line, and so one of the only straight shows we were on was Dick Clark's Rate a Record. Oh. He wanted us on there because we were selling records, and so I told Dick, and the producers, I said, "Listen, we're going to tear the set up. So, just don't get in the way. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But when we write a record, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff going on. So just warn everybody, it's all part of the act, but don't get in the way so you get hurt, So the brought Cheech and Chong out to rate a record, and Cheech was like a little gang guy, hey, what's going on, man? And I come out like a biker, and I got a chain. And so they said, so what do you think of the record? Hey, man, okay, hey, Chong, what do you think of this record, man? I'll tell you what I think of this record, man. I take the chain and I just destroyed the whole set.
What?
Well, it's their most popular little thing from that show. Wow. From that year, Dick Clark. He played it every year. He loved it. He loved it because it was the first really ad-lib, tear up this thing. Then they had us on the Helen Reddy show. Same thing, because when they saw that, okay, we got to go on Helen Reddy.
Right.
And so we told Helen, we did a skit called The Dating Game. Remember the dating game? And so I told the actor next to me that I said, we're going to start fighting. So I said, don't fake it, fight back. I'm going to we got to make it real. I said, so whatever I do, I said, it's not acting, it's for real. And he was cool. He goes, yeah, okay. And so he started insulting Cheech, and he insulted Cheech. And Cheech was, there's three of us there, and Helen's the girl that we got to get. And so, so Cheech is Chicano. And so the guy goes, he said something rude about the Chicano, man. And I told him, hey, man, watch your mouth, man. And he goes, oh, yeah? Like, what are you going to do about it? So I grabbed him in a headlock, and I just flung his ass down. Yeah, you know the old kids, how you wrestle, you get a headlock, and if you squeeze hard enough, they're trying to get away, trying to get their head out, and so it's nice action,
Yeah.
And so we tore up that set again.
That's
and didn't tell
amazing.
anybody. We didn't tell too many people, just the ones that needed to know, So it was, and Cheech, in the meantime, while we're fighting, Cheech is over hitting on Helen Redding. Hey, baby. Really? Hey, baby, hey, go with me, man. You know, hey, I got a car, man. Hey, you're looking good. Hey. What? Yeah, I like that dress, man.
What? Did it get hard to separate where like the Cheech and Chong humans ended and the comedy began at these points?
Yeah, it did. And that's what kind of ended our career. What? Because Cheech he got serious. Yeah, he got serious, and he really wanted to be an actor. You know, he wanted to hang with Don Johnson, and you know, and he did. He did a hell of a job.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, and Spy Kids and everything else. But we played that, and now we're back. Kind of, you know, not as crazy.
Yeah.
You know, obviously. Although my wife opens, you know, Shelby. Because what happened, I got on the road by myself. After Cheech and I broke up, there was I didn't do anything for about a year or two. No, I shot a movie on my own. I shot a couple. And then it wasn't the same, you know, without Cheech. And so then I saw Dennis Miller live in Calgary. I mean, in Vancouver. Doing comedy, and so I went.
So you headed back to Canada? Did you move back to Canada at that time?
Oh, yeah, I was back and forth.
Okay.
You know, we had a house up there. You know, we got rich. I had a house in Vancouver, one in L.A. And so we went up to the L.A. house. I mean, the Vancouver house, and I was in Dennis Miller. I met Dennis because he's married to a Vancouver girl, and I said, you know, what are you up to? And he's well, I'm working the comedy room tomorrow. Which was, I think it was New Year's Eve. Anyway, I said, oh, shit, I want to go see it. So I went down there and I watched him and I got the bug. I got the bug. And I went back to see him and Dennis is pacing the floor and he said to me, do you still get nervous before you go on? And I have been on stage for, by that time, a couple of years. And, you know, never by myself, always with Cheech.
Right.
And I thought about it. I said, no. I guess I did no, we never got nervous because there was, you know, we were always tearing up something, so nothing to be nervous about.
Everyone else was.
Yeah, exactly.
And they still are.
Yeah.
We were on the Colbert Show just recently, and they wouldn't have us as guests.
What?
They had us as satellite. We're in the same studio.
What?
Same set. And they sat Cheech and I down, and like we were a satellite. Like, in other words,
that's ridiculous.
They put us in jail.
Why? What was because they wanted to make sure that nothing weird happened?
They just saw
what? That's disappointing with the Colbert Show because he seemed like he would be fucking with it.
Yeah, well, you know, they're just very. You know, they got burned too many times. You know?
Yeah, that's coming from the network. I'm sure at that point.
Bobcat, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Bobcat burned them. You know, and Bobcat set Jay Leno's couch on fire, and you know, Robin Williams, you couldn't control him, or Jim Carrey, and all those guys. You know, you can't control them. Yeah. You know, and so they thought Cheech, and they knew our history, so right away Cheech and Chong we're like in jail. Yeah. We were like sitting there, we couldn't move.
Yeah. Wow, it's you know, everyone gets you sidetracked, but it's funny. The late night comedy thing is just something that I'm just kind of really into. I think the HBO movie that was about the Letterman Leno thing a long time ago got me into it, and I really got into old Letterman stuff. And it's funny that you say that because at that time, when Letterman was younger, he was kind of the guy still leading the charge. There's like stuff that he was like throwing watermelons off the roof of fucking NBC or CBS or whatever. I think it was NBC, right? It's pretty. Comedy was so much different then.
Yeah.
It was like a lot more renegade, and especially like the late 70s, like 80s, and or like 70s through 80s. Yeah.
Well, the big revolution was going on from the 60s on.
Right. Yeah.
See,
so even 60s. Yeah.
Remember, you know, like the 70s was all riots. You know, L.A. was burning, and if L.A. wasn't burning, Washington was burning, or Detroit. There were riots all from the 60s on up. Yeah. Right after Kennedy got nailed. Wow. Then the riots started happening. And, you know, the L.A. riots, the Watts riots, we forget about that. But
totally.
You know, when I went to Detroit to play with Motown, Detroit was smoldering. It was in ruins. It was like a war zone.
Wow.
And there were signs up there. One sign says Soul Brother, S-O-L-E, brother. That was great.
Oh my God, that's so great.
And burned to the ground.
Fuck.
Yeah. My girlfriend, now wife, Shelby, who's on the road with us, she was my girlfriend at the time, and she was pregnant, and she followed me, or she came with me to Detroit, and she's just a little angel, a little blonde angel, blue eyes, and she would get on the bus in the ghetto and take it downtown to another ghetto. And she looked like a mirage, wow. Little white girl in this little cute outfit waiting for the bus.
That's amazing.
Oh, they were like, it was war zone, I mean, they kind of thought I was something, not white, but they thought it was something, But there's no mistaking the other guys in the band, the guy that wrote the song with me, he was super white from Vancouver, and he would get hassled all the time by the black militants, Really? Like one time, Bobby Taylor, the singer, had him in this is Linwood. This is where the riot started. This is where the Detroit riot started, a little restaurant there, and Bobby's in there, and Tom Baird, the white kid from Vancouver, never had chitlins before. And so Bobby talked him into ordering some chitlins. And Tom took a bite and goes, ugh, disgusting. And these black guys sitting at the other table said, you're going to eat every one of those motherfuckers.
Oh, man.
Wow.
And then Bobby pulled out his gun and said, Tom, you don't have to eat shit, man. Oh, wow. Actually, that's what you were eating.
Wow.
Yeah.
It got gnarly. It got gnarly. Yeah. Oh yeah. We got discovered as a black band in Vancouver. Barry Gordy, Diana Ross saw us first, and she loved the group. And then she phoned Barry, who she was having an affair with. So Barry flew down to see her and the band. He loved us, signed us up right away. And then he forgot about us. And so we had to make our way, because Bobby Taylor, he's an old pro. And so he knew right away, when you get signed like that, you got to follow the guy until you get paid, you can just follow him around wherever he goes. And so we gigged our way to Detroit. But we started off with when we got discovered, it was a black band. And so everybody was all happy we got discovered. So the organ player, Leroy, and the drummer, Freddie Miller, were from Portland. So they wanted to go home for the holidays, and tell everybody, we got signed with Motown. So
crazy.
Yeah, so they go across the border. They forgot that they had to sneak into Canada. And so they go across the border. They think, oh, we're with Motown now. And so coming back to Canada, they said, yeah, we're with Motown. And they said, well, let me see your visas. Let me see your work permit. Let me see your ID. Well, who are you? Before, you just flashed ID and you just got in. You're a tourist, you got in. But now they wanted to know who you are. Well, Freddie had a record. Leroy never had a permit or anything else. And the minute one of you is dirty, then boom, you're both out. And so they couldn't get back in. And so we had to replace them with white guys from Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
What?
And so what started out as a black band ended up mostly white. For Canadians. Oh, man, it was funny. They got robbed one time in Chicago. We all played the chitlin circuit, with the song. And there again, these are little white guys from Toronto. And they're in Chicago, and they're just walking down the street, got mugged.
Oh, man.
Broad daylight. And so they went to the cops. The cop says, are you going to press charges? And they said, yeah. He said, are you sure you're going to press charges? Because if you're going to press charges, I know who robbed you. I can go get him right now. But if you're not going to hang around for the court case and press charges, then there's no need for me to do anything. And so they thought about it, and they said, no, we're not going to press charges. They let it go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Holy shit.
I know.
What?
Oh, I got some really good war stories from the road, being with Motown. Yeah. After we had our hit record, we went on tour with Diana Ross, and we went all through the South, and it was on a bus, sitting up bus. No, it wasn't a tour bus.
Yeah, it was a passenger bus.
It was an old passenger bus. And I found a little spot in the back where you could hang your clothes, and there was a little area below, and I got a couple of pillows, and I got a little bed there.
Wow.
And at first everybody said, "Oh, man, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
And after that, I couldn't get in there because there was always someone in there
Someone
before me.
sneaking in there.
Oh, the rest of the band. Wow. No, we had a hell of a time, man.
Wow. Diana Ross.
That's fucking crazy. So you and Cheech, what year, so you and Cheech split up, and then so most of the 80s you're kind of...
We split up probably 84.
84.
What we did, our last movie was in 81, which was the Corsican Brothers.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And in the Corsican Brothers, we split up.
Right, yeah.
We literally split up.
Wow.
We have an argument. I think it's that way. No, it's that way. And I think so. He went to Spain, and I went to France. I became a revolutionary. He became a Spanish food connoisseur, for want of a better word. And then we joined up again. But in the Corsican Brothers, that was one movie. Cheech didn't really want to do the Corsican Brothers.
Okay.
And he said, "We can't be doing the dope movie anymore." And so I said, "Fine, no problem with me, because I'll try something new."
Yeah.
And the Corsican Brothers was perfect, to try it. And we did. We had a good time, and it worked. And but by that time, Cheech was really on to me, my directing thing, the way I directed him, because I would get him talking about his past and everything else, and he'd tell me a funny story, and then we'd put it in a movie. And that's how we would do it. I always kept it near the funny, the family thing. And so we always had that great humor. But for acting, he was just really playing himself, all the Cheech and Chong movies. That's what made him so good. That's what made him so real.
That's just how he was.
Yeah, well, he could take on that lowrider persona so good. The way that happened, it was weird because, like I said, when he was in Calgary, dodging the draft, he was this like a university graduate. He talked like one, English major, and he was very anti, as far as you could get for a lowrider as possible. Right. Totally educated, and that's what he gravitated back to, because he was the first Jeopardy champion, celebrity champ. That's how good he was,
Really?
Yeah, the first one. He beat Anderson Cooper.
What?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, he's had a photogenic memory. He's not so good now, but through age. But yeah, and so when we got to LA, and we're playing in Reseda in this little club, and it was a dance club, and the people had to stop dancing to watch our show, and that pissed him off, And so it wasn't that Comedy Store audience. It was that,
Right.
What do we got to watch these guys for? And so we did one show, and then the second show I told Cheech, I said, "No, listen, man, you got to come. You're from here." I said, "There must be a character that you can pull up." And just the night before that, we were standing outside, and this lowrider pulled up, and he goes, "Hey, man, you can tell us how to get to Van Nuys?" And we say, "You're on Van Nuys." He goes, "Oh, okay, thanks, man." And he drove
amazing.
off.
And he drove off.
And so Cheech, that's his character. Right. And then I showed him this bit that Sir Pineapple did, where you wipe down a car so you can create a car, just out of thin air.
Right.
And just by cleaning it off, the windows, And next thing you know, you got a car, and then he opens the door, he gets in, he's in a lowrider. See? And so I showed him that bit, and then I was the red freak, hey, red freak, want to ride, man? And that was history. That was what, 40 some odd years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And like you say, it's still
And you
Totally relevant.
Yeah.
You said so I had the pleasure of help working on an event, not with you, but we sponsored it, the company I was with at the time. And you said at that event, it was a thing at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, that off the first record, you guys probably wouldn't have had to work again. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Like it did so well. You sold, what was it, 30 million copies? I can't remember the number. It was something fucking wild.
Some crazy numbers. Yeah. If the thing is, back in the day, the record companies owned everything, and that's the way it was, and it was the movie Up in Smoke was the movie. If we had a decent share, there wouldn't have been any more movies.
Yeah.
But thank God, we never. And thank God we still have to work, Wow. Because there's nothing like work. It's so much fun, especially, I got my wife. Well, what happened when Cheech and I broke up, I was out there by myself. And it was okay on stage, but off stage, oh man, I got a beautiful woman wandering around L.A. alone.
Yeah.
It's not going to be long before she finds a friend.
Yeah.
And so I said, if this is going to work, I got to have to bring her with me.
Yeah.
And so she was acting at the time, and so I said, how about if I put you in the show? She said, okay. And so she started up just introducing me. And then start doing bits, and then start doing her own bit. And now she does 25, 30 minutes in front, and then in between Cheech and Chong. So
really?
she's a solid comedian now.
That's so cool.
She's so good that
It's really cool.
that I told her that she should start thinking about doing solo work, because she's got the chops.
Yeah, cool.
Because that's all it takes, You just got to do it enough times,
Yeah.
And she's so beautiful, and Cheech, well, we're both like glad we have something to do, and it's so relevant still.
It's
Because so many of our contemporaries, they quit.
This episode was presented by Pot Guide and WikiLeaf. Please follow ITW on Twitter and Instagram at Get Into the Weeds. You can follow Ben Rispin at Ben Rispin. You can follow Efrem Martinez Schulz at F by Stereo. And me, Bubba Nicholson at Bubba Nicholson. ITW's theme music was written by Jacob Bergsma of My Son the Hurricane. Visit them at www.msthofficial.com. Special thanks to our friends at Puff Digital, Program Skate and Sound, and the Slide Bar in Fullerton, Orange County. Sound engineering provided by Roman Marconi at Halo Studios Hamilton. ITW was created by Ben Rispin and is produced by Master Volume.